Today, I'm going to show you exactly what men are looking for and actually assessing in the initial stages. I will share examples of the most commonly made mistakes, the patterns and fears that drive them, and what to do instead. And you better brace yourself because this is not what most women think it is. If you're new here, my name is Laura Nagyel. I'm a dating coach for high achieving women and the author of the Dream Framework, the first and only dating coaching program with a 6-month results guarantee. I have helped over 100 women find the one within weeks and months, and I would love for your story to be next. Let's get into it. Let's start with first date as an example. Most advice out there will tell you to be warm, to be feminine, to be open, but what actually happens with high achieving women is that you meet the guy, you sit by the table, and within minutes, you start assessing whether he is serious, whether he is aligned, whether he is emotionally available, whether he is worth your time. Is he husband material? So you're basically evaluating instead of allowing yourself to enjoy and actually experience the day. Now, discernment is important, of course it is. But there is a difference between discernment and premature assessment. And men can feel when they're being screened instead of received and experienced. And what they're looking for is not how impressive and accomplished you are and how thorough you will be in your checks, but how charming and emotionally regulated you can be in the context of getting to know someone new. So, if you need to know by date 2 whether he fits your 5-year plan, it tells him, and it should also tell you, by the way, that you are not comfortable not having answers. So, if this does feel like you, this means your problem is with urgency, not with your standards, because urgency is the pressure. Urgency creates pressure, and pressure kills polarity. If this is you, your biggest fear is wasting time, and that fear speeds you up emotionally before the connection got to a place where it even makes sense to add the speed. And so the shift I want you to make is remembering that on a first date, your job is to observe how you feel when you're with him, not to assess lifetime compatibility. It's about having a good time, not knowing if you can be together forever, because it's impossible. It doesn't matter how focused you are and how good are the questions that you ask. So I want you to go from thinking, is this going somewhere? Does it have potential? Are we compatible? To, do I enjoy who I am around him? Am I having a good time? I want you to let go of control and trying to secure the man. And instead, I want you to focus on seeing if the attraction is there and if you even like him beyond the on paper stuff and what you've seen on his dating profile. Now, let's talk about texting. If a man takes longer than usual to reply and you start getting restless, you start analyzing, dissecting, and interrogating your every move, if you start asking yourself, did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? Is he seeing someone else? Should I pull back? Should I call him out? Should I try and play it cool? And then you either send another message or change the tone or try to escalate the emotional intimacy or all of the above. The mistake you're making here is that you focus on what the man is thinking, what he is doing, what he is feeling in this situation. But what you should focus on instead is what is going on with you. Because if a minor uncertainty destabilizes you in such a significant way, that's a signal that you're struggling to trust and to handle the discomfort of not knowing. And men are looking for emotional stability. So, in that situation, if you double text him, if you lead the conversation, if you try to force emotional intimacy, despite what you might be telling yourself, this is not about female empowerment or allowing yourself to be enthusiastic. This is pure emotional neediness. And you need to stop it right away. If this sounds like you, your pattern is trying to reduce uncertainty by gathering more information and seeing how he reacts, seeing what he says. The problem is, though, that you cannot manufacture attraction even with the right set of moves or strategies. It either happens or it doesn't. And it definitely needs breathing space more than forced closeness. If this is your pattern, then your biggest fear is most likely wasting time. That if you let momentum slip on this one, it will be another promising connection that never went anywhere. And the thing is, fear and desperation are never good places to operate from. So, what I want you to do from now on is this. I want you to accept that lack of response is a response in itself. And if there is silence from him, there is nothing to do or think about for you, because composure and self respect are always, always, always the most seductive assets a woman can have. Now, let's move on to defining the relationship. Imagine this. You have been seeing each other for a few weeks or months, and you feel the urge to have the conversation. The problem is, he is clearly not in a rush to start it, and you are starting to get worried if it will ever happen, and that maybe he is just messing you around, which obviously happened many times before, so you just want to make sure it doesn't happen again, right? If you are feeling that urgency to define a relationship early, it very often signals a fear response that has nothing to do with how you feel about him. You basically want to go back to feeling secure and knowing that this is indeed going somewhere and your time is not being wasted. The thing is, though, we are all animals and men can sense desperation. So if you are pushing for declarations too soon, he will know this is about your insecurities and not you liking him. Because when you think about it, it signals that you clearly must have very few options since you are so willing to take yourself off the market without even doing the proper checks. So that acceleration driven by your anxiety and your insecurity doesn't feel good for you. Obviously doesn't feel good for him either. It just creates unnecessary pressure, which is why men often hit the brakes in these situations. So in this case, your pattern is trying to establish certainty by forcing declarations instead of allowing the connection to grow to a point where both of you are naturally sure. And that signals instability under pressure of romantic ambiguity. This also signals that your biggest fears are wasted time, hurt feelings once again, and missing your window for starting a family. And don't get me wrong, these fears are absolutely real and valid and rational, but if you let them drive your decisions, ironically, they will push you even further away from the realization. So, what I want you to do, instead of focusing on whether he wants to be exclusive with you, and when he will ask you about it, I want you to focus on whether you want to be exclusive with him. I want you to keep focusing and asking yourself whether you are aligned on your aspirations and values, whether you have a strong intellectual connection with him, or is it something that could be classified more as a surface level compatibility. I want you to think if your lifestyles are compatible. I want you to ask yourself the big questions. How does he add to your life? Because if he doesn't, what's the point? So now, to bring this all together, men do not expect a strong CV. They are not looking for high performance. They don't want you to be an overfunctioner or to nail strategic communications. They just don't want drama and unnecessary pressure. And this is why they're looking for emotional regulations. Do you stay grounded or do you spiral? Do you try to control and steer the situation? Do you over explain yourself? Will you chase him if he doesn't? These are the questions that men are asking themselves, and even if unintentionally and purely subconsciously, testing you for. So, what I want you to take away from this episode is that long term relationships require emotional stability under stress, and that early dating is the first micro test of that. And obviously, he is not consciously thinking, let me test her nervous system, but he feels it. Men respond to energy even if they cannot name it. Now, let me share with you a few pointers on what calm, grounded presence can look like, because it doesn't have to be complicated. It's actually quite simple. In the context of initial stages, this is enjoying your date without planning the future and trying to fast forward. It's texting naturally with no analysis, no reading between the lines, and no strategizing on what you're going to say and what type of response you're expecting. It's not escalating emotional intimacy too soon. It's allowing for these emotions, for the words you use, for how quickly you grow close to develop naturally. It's understanding your standards and maintaining them, of course, but without forcing any timelines. It's allowing him to move towards you, not the other way around. And also being okay with the fact that he doesn't either move towards you or fulfill your standards. Being ready to move on if that's the case. This is the regulated, calm, and magnetic way. When you are choosing him and not trying to get him to choose you. It's a simple but such a powerful shift. And one more thing that I want to share is that most high achieving women think that if they work hard enough on themselves, if they make themselves impressive enough and beautiful enough and accomplished enough, men will choose them. But the thing is, men are not looking for someone to compete with. They want someone classy, stable, and dignified. And that is one of the most magnetic things you can be as a woman, because stable feels safe, and safe means long term. If today's episode felt uncomfortably accurate, good. Because most ambitious women don't lose men because there's no chemistry or they're not pretty enough or not smart enough, but rather because they give into their impulses to take control, to manage the micro moments of uncertainty in the initial dating stages. And yes, these moments are small and these are just some random situations, but these are the factors that shift or even completely stall or block the dynamic. And the problem is you very rarely see it happening while you're in it. So I created something that will help you with that. It is called the Uncertainty Checklist. It's a free tool. It takes around 5 minutes to work with. It has 10 statements that will show you very quickly if you're staying grounded in that ambiguity that comes with the initial stages, or if you are over functioning in that dynamic without even realizing it. So if you score high, higher than you expected, not a reason to freak out. It just means that you've identified a pattern. So that's a good thing, because information is power. I will include the link in the show notes, in the description if you're watching on YouTube, and I will see you next week.